What's good, y'all? We are here for day one of the Jamaican National Championships. Just capped off. Of course, we saw the men's and the women's hundreds. We saw the men's and the women's 400s, as well as the 400-meter hurdles, and a few other events as well. But we started off with a very, very quality day. Not too many fans in the stands. I think tomorrow for the second day, especially with Shelly-Ann ending off, with her final race with the semis and the final tomorrow, I think that's going to bring a lot more people out. But this was good. I'm going to start off with that men's 100 because Bryan Levell, in my opinion, made a big statement in this 100 meters. 9.99 seconds, and he ran it into a headwind of 0.5 meters per second. Negative 0.5 meters per second for Bryan Levell. And from my vantage point of where I'm standing, right past the finish line, he looked comfortable. Like, he looked so relaxed. Afterwards, he would look like he was chilling. Bryan Levell obviously has really came into his own this year. Last year, of course, he did make the Olympic team. But this year, he is really showing some serious power. And the fact that he's able to run sub 10 in the 100 in the heats, knowing that he has 3 more rounds and he has to do the 200 in a few, like, this was a very good performance for Bryan. I don't know. Well, before I talk a little bit more about him, after that, you did have Akeem Blake. He won his heat comfortably, 10.07 seconds. Kishane Thompson, 10.12 seconds. So you saw Seville, 10.12 as well. All these guys looked extremely comfortable across the board. And I think that as we look forward into the semifinals, we still have the final. Kishane Thompson is still the clear favorite as we look forward into the next few rounds. But someone like Bryan Levell, I don't know, he really stamped himself as, listen, I don't know if 3 people are going to beat him in that final, tomorrow. Now, it's going to be tough. Seville, I actually think, looked extremely comfortable, considering he's had a lot of ups and downs this year. He's been in Grand Slam track, got injured in Atlanta, came back to Racers Grand Prix, ran sub 10. He looked comfortable, but man, I don't know. Bryan Levell, Kishane Thompson, Seville, Akeem Blake, those are the, of course, the 4 who were entering here, and one of those guys is going to be left at home. But we'll see how things actually play out. We still got semifinals and we got the finals tomorrow as well. So we're going to see how that plays out. Shout out to Davidson. He ran 10.12 seconds as well. Nkrumah, right, he actually showed up 10.14 seconds. He's dealt with some injuries over the past couple years, coming out of, champs some years back as well. So hopefully he's able to really show up. And shout out to, I think it was Christopher Taylor. He got a big kind of like, I don't know if it's standing ovation, but a lot of people were supporting him because he qualified into the semifinals in the 100. Remember, he just came off suspension for the past couple years, returned to the track in 2025, and now he's contesting the 100 and the 200 here at trials instead of the 400. So we'll see how that progresses, but man, that men's 100, it was good. It was real good. But the women's 100 came before that. And the women's 100, the times weren't anything crazy, similar to the men, and it's only the heats, but the women, this is, I think, a lot more complicated to determine who's actually going to make the team. Still the prelims, we still have 2 more rounds. But when you look at the landscape of things, Shericka Jackson, in that first heat, 11.20 seconds, very comfortable, very relaxed. Like, she looks like the Shericka that, we know as, one of the greatest of all time. Not saying she's in that 10-6 form, who knows, but she looked very, very good. On top of that, and the lights are just going off here, Tina Clayton, both of them qualified through, got their comfortable wins as well. You had Julianne Williams, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, like all these women were able to comfortably, kind of qualify through. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, she also had the amazing start that she usually does. And even though this is, of course, her last national championships, she does not want to go out without making a team. She wants to ensure that she gets another chance to go to the World Championships and potentially get on the podium, in Tokyo later on this summer. And this is just a first step towards that. Now, because there are so many competitive women in this race between Shericka, Tina, Shelly, Jodianne, even Brianna Williams, like there's so many women who are in this mix, and it makes it really complicated to say, all right, these 3 women are going to make the team. It's tough, but for the most part, everyone looked pretty comfortable, pretty relaxed, and I'm excited to see how it translates into tomorrow's semifinals and finals. One thing that will be interesting is the lane draw, right? How are the athletes going to be seated when going into the semifinals? Will we see, Shericka Jackson and Shelly-Ann in the same heat? Because, Shelly-Ann, she actually finished a little farther down the pack. Overall, she finished 5th place. will we see some of the Clayton twins together? So it'll be kind of complicated to see how things actually do play out, but you know, we'll be interesting to see. But 100, I think for the most part, men's side, Bryan Levell is looking like the guy right now, but you know, I'm not picking him to win the whole thing. Still got semifinals for tomorrow. On top of that, Kishane, Oakley, Akeem, they all look good. So we'll see how that does go in terms of progression. The women, it's going to be competitive. Those semifinals are going to be very, very interesting. Now, on top of that, quick highlights from the 400s, 400 hurdles actually, where we did see Anjanette Knight. She is the clear favorite when going into the finals, I think on Sunday. Only have 2 rounds. Anjanette Knight, that group that is training at the University of Arkansas under Boogie Johnson, you have Anjanette Knight, you have Dalilah Muhammad, you have Anna Cockrell, you have Alexis Holmes, you have Shericka. Like, all of them are really either in excellent form already, or they're really building up, you know, their form throughout the season, in the case of someone like Shericka. But I think Anjanette Knight is looking to put herself in the conversation with some of the other top hurdlers. She hasn't run 52 seconds yet in her career, but her consistency in Grand Slam track has been showing. Her ability to just like comfortably, you know, qualify through into the final here is looking good. So we'll see how Anjanette Knight does. You also have Rochelle Clayton, Cheyenne Solomon, both of them looking good. I think Anjanette Knight actually beat out, you know, Rochelle Clayton. And then Genev Russell is the other one who I was kind of like having an eye on, because she's one of the more experienced athletes overall. But, you know, she didn't look as great. You know, Shanique Walker and Hines also were ahead of her. So we'll see how things do actually progress with them. But that's the women's 400-meter hurdles. Men's hurdles, Aini Wilson, Rashawn Clark, Malik James King, those 3 are going to the World Championships, all things considered. Assuming that, you know, assuming that they don't hit hurdles, assuming that they're, you know, they're comfortable throughout, but I think those 3 are pretty solid. Rashawn Clark is looking to get back into that that 47-second form that's you know, we saw from him in 2023. Malik James King is looking to get back into that 47-second form. And then Aini Wilson, he's looking to almost like assert himself as one of the strong 400-meter hurdlers that, you know, is in that kind of mix. So we'll see how those 3 do pan out. Again, you will see them on Sunday, or I'm sorry, you'll see them on Saturday in the 400-meter hurdles for the final there. So that'll be capping things off. But finally, let's talk about the 400s. Also, nothing too crazy when talking about overall performances. You had Shericka on the women's side, 50.68 seconds, and she looked very comfortable. Like I said, I've said it in previous videos where I feel like Shericka will progressively get better as the season goes, and I think that she's going to be a key player when we do get to the World Championships. They have to run 3 rounds here at the Jamaican trials, which is a little interesting because you have, you know, I don't think you need 3 rounds for all the athletes, considering how many people are actually entered and considering, you know, the competition in a sense. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see how they do navigate that. But Shericka looking good. Stacey-Ann Williams looking very good as well. She's probably looking to get under the 50-second barrier for the first time. But you also do have Dejanay Oakley. I think between those 3 women, Shericka, Stacey-Ann Williams, Dejanay Oakley, I think those 3 are potentially going to be able to go sub 50 seconds when we look at the final. That would be the first time that I think it's ever happened in Jamaica. It's not something that's a common occurrence. Even looking in the past with, you know, you had athletes like a Shericka Williams, you had Novine Williams-Mills, right? Like, I don't think 3 athletes at Jamaican trials have actually ever gone under the 50-second barrier in the same race. So something that could happen, right? Stacey-Ann Williams is the only one of the 3, who hasn't done it. But, you know, her PB is 50 seconds flat. So, you know, we might see it actually occur. And then last one that we did have is the men's 400, where Rasheed McDonald, he led the field overall, running a best of, I think it was 45.40 seconds. Rasheed McDonald is kind of like an enigma where once he steps on the track, it's really hard to see like what he's actually going to be able to do, right? How he's actually going to perform. We've seen him break the national record all the way back in 2015, having up and down seasons after that. Came back in 2023, had an amazing season. 2024, got the world indoor bronze medal, I think, but then, you know, didn't show great form in 2024. But who knows? We're going to see how he actually does show out here. Probably will make the team, but the 400 I think is pretty wide open, right? You had Wendell Miller. He actually finished second place here. Sean Bailey, he won his heat very comfortably. And across the board, right? Shout out to Javon Powell, he qualified through. So a lot of guys in the 400-meter field, but overall, pretty good competitions for the most part. Shout out to Lamar Diston in the high jump. She got the win here. Didn't perform to her, what she really wanted to in terms of expectations and in terms of, she wasn't fully satisfied with her results, but got the spot to qualify to the World Championships. Akila Smith in the long jump, she got the win there. I think 6.8 meters in the long jump. She'll be back for the triple jump in a couple days, so that's going to be pretty exciting. But man, those hundreds, I am excited to see how the semifinals unfold. What will the lane draws and what will the landscape of the semifinals look like for these women and these men to qualify through? And then we got the finals just after that on Friday evening. What do you think? So let me know, what do you think about Jamaican trials so far? This is only day one. Again, great atmosphere. The crowd wasn't too much yet, but tomorrow I think it's going to be a lot better. And I've heard that Shelly-Ann has kind of of course she's told people that it's her final one, but heard that she's bringing out a lot of people, and trying to promote it as listen, it's about to be my farewell. So let me know what you think. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, tune in. Still gonna have each day coming to y'all real quick, but let me know what you think. Always appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.